With 2 new hunters, a new workshop of brilliant light, and a new guild boss, lots of hunters have become better, but also worse. Which means it is about time I updated my best hunters tier list. And this was my previous tier list that I did in my last video, with all of the best hunters going from the SS tier going all the way down to the D tier, where once again Kim Sang-shik does only sit. And also since my last tier list, we now have 2 brand new hunters added to the game, which are Esil, Radiru, and also Kanae Tawata. But before I cover those 2, I do want to make a lot of changes to my current tier list, simply just because of how much the meta has shifted. And I want to start off by moving down quite a lot of hunters, with the very first one being Alicia, who is going to go from the SS tier going all the way down to the S plus tier, which is going to be because I do feel like, at least for me personally, Alicia is only really good in Battlefield of Time, and that is it, which in my opinion doesn't really make her a top tier hunter anymore. And the same is also going to go for Silvermane Baekuno, who's also going to go down to the S plus tier, as well as also Charlotte as well. And the main reason for these 2 moving down is just because the Baron Workshop isn't really as relevant anymore, which is why they've both gone down to the S plus tier. And this is also going to be the same reason for Lim Tae-gyu moving down to the S tier, because again, he was relatively useful for the Baron Workshop, or at least could be used in it. And then the final hunter I want to move down a tier is going to be Ana Ruiz, who's going to go down to the S tier, because don't get me wrong, she is very, very good. However, I do think Choi is now better, which also then brings me on to the very first hunter I do want to move up a tier, which is going to be Choi Jong-in, who is going to go up to the S plus tier, because he is just so good in Guild Boss and is also relatively usable in the new Deimos Workshop as well, which is also going to be the reason why I moved Gina from the S tier all the way to the double S tier, the SS tier, because she is just so good for the new Deimos Workshop. She's really good for Guild Boss and is obviously the best support for the Fire team. And with Gina being so good, it also does mean that Yu Soo-hyun is going to go from the S plus tier all the way to the SS tier, because she is one of the best DPSs, with the fact that she does increase her defense penetration by so much through buffs like Spotlight, her A2, and also her exclusive weapon being the main reason why she is so good, especially for the Deimos Workshop, because that workshop does have a lot of extra defense on the enemies, so defense penetration is definitely the preferred mechanic for it. And also, even though she is a DPS, she does provide a very valuable debuff in magic reaction, increasing the amount of fire damage your enemies can take. And then the final change I want to make is going to be moving Min Byung-gu from the S plus tier all the way to the SS tier, simply because he's sort of like Isla, where he's just a very, very universal support and can be run on the vast majority of teams. And obviously with him being of the light element, it does mean he's going to be very, very good for the Deimos Workshop. So with all of that being out of the way, I can now start to finally rank the 2 latest hunters to be added to the game, being Esil and also Kanae. But let's start off with Esil Radiru. And Esil Radiru is a fantastic breaker and is the best fire breaker in the whole entire game, because as you can see from her A0 passive alone, there is a ton of different paragraphs in it, so it kind of gives you an idea of how good she really is, because through her A0 alone, she can increase the duration of the break state that enemies suffer by 3 seconds, whilst also increasing her break effectiveness by 24% in the Workshop of Brilliant Lights, which once again is going to make her insanely strong for the new Deimos Workshop. And also debuffs like her Prey on the Weak that she does apply are just insanely powerful for lots of different content in the game, like Power of Destruction, the new Guild Boss, and of course the Deimos Workshop. But also what Esil does have as well are some really, really powerful advancements, because if you've used the Fire team, you do know it likes to stack as much attack as possible. So with her A2 saying the team member's attack increased by 3% for every fire member in your party is going to be very, very valuable in increasing your whole entire fire team's damage. Her A3 instantly getting her ultimate is also ridiculous, and what it can also do, it can allow her to charge it even faster and also decrease its cooldown, which will make it a lot more spammable, giving you more break damage. And then of course when you do get to her A5, you get a load of extra effects, especially with the main one being the buff to the Prey on the Weak, with it being able to stack up to 100 times as opposed to 50 times, giving you a lot more damage. But also her weapon is insane as well, especially when you do have it at A5, because you can increase the attack stat of your team member with the highest crit rate by up to 2400, which is a massive increase, which is amazing because when you stack it with other attack increases that the fire team offers, you're going to be able to give your main DPS a huge amount of extra attack. And then finally as well, she does actually carry a relatively useful support skill for your Sung Jin Woo, with her Prey on the Weak lasting for 60 seconds, so you can get a ton of uptime with it, and with it increasing fire damage and also regular damage as well, especially if you're using the mono fire setup with your Jinwoo, it can be very good for him as well. So yeah, Esil Radiru just offers so much to the mono fire team and just your account as a whole, and with the fire team definitely being the best team in the game with the most amount of content it can be used in, it is easily going to make Esil Radiru go all the way up into the SS tier, just because she is so good for literally pretty much everything everything in the game, meaning she does just give your account so much extra value, which means she's kind of a must-have. Which of course then does bring me on to the final hunter to be ranked in this tier list, which is going to be the very latest hunter added to the game, which is Kanae Tawata. And without a doubt, Kanae Tawata is definitely one of, if not the very best DPS in the game right now, because her whole entire kit in doing damage revolves around her second basic skill, and then enhancing it through the Crimson, Scarlet, and Fire buffs to then give it more damage. But also when you do have the Crimson, Scarlet, or Fire effects active, her second basic skill also then becomes her ultimate skill, just giving her a lot more damage as well. But that's not even the half of it as well, because just like Esil, she does have a very, very good passive for the Workshop of Brilliant Lights. Basically, when she attacks any target in the break state, her damage increases by 24%, which once again makes her very, very good for lots of different pieces of content, like Power of Destruction, Guild Boss, and of course, especially the new Deimos Workshop. And then when you accompany all of that with her very best team, as well as also her very best advancements, you can get so many stat increases for her, because her A1 allows her to stack the Instinct buff, which gives her a bunch of extra crit rate, and then once you stacked it 10 times, you can then activate Sixth Sense, which then increases your crit rate even more, as well as also it does help with the mana issue that she does suffer with. She also even gets super armor in her A3 as well, as also cooldown reductions for her skills, which is insanely powerful, but also even more stat buffs, because she can get an extra 12% fire damage for every fire member that you do have in your team, which is another up to 36% extra free damage. And then of course her A5 does allow her to enhance her buffs that she does apply to herself, allowing her to stack even more stats than she normally could do, with Instinct being buffed to allow her to stack attack now, as well as also crit damage. And then the Sixth Sense buff is being enhanced to allow her to increase her attack by 77%, her crit stats being crit rate and crit damage by 20%, and also a buff to her mana point consumption decrease. And with all of those stat increases through her advancements, they don't even stop there, because her exclusive weapon, the path a hero must take, is insanely strong for her, because it can increase your Kanae Tawata's attack by up to 12%, as well as also her critical hit rate by an up to 20% as well, which if you did see my guide video, then you'll know that she can get an absolute ton of crit rate, which can go up to around like over 100% crit rate, which does make her damage just so incredibly consistent, which is why she is so powerful. Which after all of that, I think it's pretty fair to say that Kanae Tawata is easily going to go all the way up into the SS tier, and I do think she is definitely potentially the best DPS in the game, just because she is so good in literally all of the game modes, all of the point scoring game modes, all of the hard end game content. She is just good for literally all of them, and if you can get her to A5 on your account, as well as the rest of the fire team consisting of Esil and also Gina, you are going to really have a very, very unstoppable team that can take on pretty much all of the content in the game. So there you have it, that is my complete tier list of all of the hunters currently in solo leveling Arise, with this being the very final tier list that I came up with. And overall, if you did enjoy this video, or you just found it useful in general, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. Peace!